Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome from Berlin to this Germany Trade and Invest webinar on energy efficiency in industry. My name is Rob Compton, and I'm the project manager and investor consultant at Germany Trade and Invest, responsible for the areas of energy efficiency in construction and industry and for smart cities. It's my sincere pleasure to be joined today by Mr. Jürgen Ritzek in Brussels from the organization EEIP, which stands for Energy Efficiency in Industrial Processes. He will be speaking after me, and I will tell you a bit about him and his organization a little later. This is, of course, a live and interactive webinar, and it would be great to hear your questions, which you can type into the chat box. After both Jürgen and I have finished speaking, we will aim to answer as many of your questions as possible, so feel free to ask away. I'm going to speak for around 15 minutes and Jürgen for around 10 minutes, and then we'll have 5 or 6 minutes for Q&A at the end, so we aim to be finished in around 30 to 40 minutes time. This means that we will be moving quite quickly, but don't worry if you miss anything. We'll be sending the presentations to all of you later on after the webinar is over. I've got one small request for you, and that is after the webinar ends, you'll receive a very short questionnaire, and it really would be a great help if you could answer the questions. It shouldn't take more than a moment, and it really does help us to improve our webinars. So today I'm going to quickly say what Germany Trade and Invest does and how we can help you. And after that, I'll give an overview of the industrial efficiency market in Germany before looking at the major drivers, the support and incentives that are available, as well as possible business opportunities. After that, Jürgen will present EEIP and will let you know how his organization can be a major help to companies interested in entering the German market. So Germany Trade and Invest, or GTAI, is the Federal Economic Development Agency of Germany. We're 100% owned by the Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy. And the agency has 4 main tasks. Firstly, we market Germany around the world as a fantastic place to invest and develop technologies and to do business. When doing this, we have a special focus on the federal states that formerly made up East Germany. And today, these are known as the new federal states. Thirdly, we support businesses based in Germany that are interested in accessing international markets with detailed reporting from our network of 50 offices around the globe. This information ranges from developments in particular industries, in particular countries, through to macroeconomic news and the implications this has for German exporters. And fourthly, we provide business location consultancy services for international companies that are interested in setting up a presence in Germany. And that's the team that I'm on, and the service that I expect is of most interest to you. This is our range of services for international investors. We can provide in-depth information about a particular market to enable you to make an informed investment decision. Our project managers can help you to identify ways to enter the market. We can help identify and contact potential partners, be that for research, suppliers, industry associations, or clusters. We work closely with regional development agencies to deliver site selection services and access to local contacts. And we also have an investor support team, which is made up of legal and financing experts, and they're able to provide information about the legal situation in Germany, be that labor law, visa regulations, or legislation relating to your industry, or setting up a company here. The financing team can help identify relevant incentives and financing methods for your project. And perhaps the best bit of news is that all of this is entirely free of charge and completely confidential. So let's take a look at the current situation in the energy efficiency market in Germany. This graph shows the lead market for energy efficiency in Germany. At the bottom in the darker blue, we can see that the market for cross-sector components had a turnover of 53 billion euros in 2013. And this is expected to grow by 5.4% per annum to reach around 99 billion euros in 2025. The market for energy efficiency in buildings, shown here in light blue, is around half the size, with a turnover of 26 billion in 2013. It's expected to grow similarly to 46 billion by 2025. Meanwhile, energy-efficient appliances accounted for 19 billion in 2013, and in pink at the top, you can see that energy efficiency in production processes is expected to grow the fastest at 7.7% per annum from 1 billion in 2013 to 3 billion in 2025. So all in all, the outlook for the energy efficiency sector in Germany is extremely positive for the coming years. As in many other countries, Germany has certainly dispelled the myth that economic productivity is necessarily linked to an increase in energy consumption. We can see here that primary energy consumption has fallen slowly but steadily since the early 90s. That's in part due to the effect of reunification, but you can also see that GDP has increased by half in the same period. If we look at some energy efficiency indicators, we can see that Germany has made great strides in improving the efficiency of the economy as a whole. Again, PEC is shown here in blue, while energy intensity is shown in pink and energy productivity in green. Germany is now a third more efficient than it was in 1990. In 2014, just 4.8 gigajoules of energy were used to produce 1,000 euros worth of goods, which was 3.3% less than in 2013. If we correct for weather and stockpile effects, energy use still sank by more than 3% on the previous year. If we look at electricity consumption against GDP, there was a fall between 2013 and 2014 of 4.3%, due in part to improved industrial processes and efficient household appliances. Nevertheless, there remains a lot of untapped potential. Energy efficiency increased by 1.6% between 2008 and 2014, which is less than the 2.1% envisaged by the federal government's energy concept. Nevertheless, these results are really very good in international comparison. Of course, changes in primary energy consumption can be attributed to a number of factors. In addition to weather and demographic changes, GDP per capita and the energy intensity of the economy as a whole can play a part. And here you can see these factors quantified individually. The bars show the change in total energy consumption that there would be if only one factor were to change, while the others remain constant. The graph shows clearly that the reduction in energy consumption between 2008 and 2014 was indeed enlarged due to improvements in energy efficiency, despite the effect of factors that increase energy consumption, such as population growth and higher GDP per capita. Now, as I mentioned, Germany's international standing in terms of energy intensity is very good, especially considering the industrial nature of the economy compared, for example, to that of the UK. You can see the EU average here shown in pink. So what's driving this progress in Germany? Let's take a look at some of the major drivers. The biggest factor here is the cost of energy in Germany. Put quite simply, the cheapest kilowatt hour of energy is the one that you just don't use. The high and rising cost of energy in Germany makes efficiency a strategic factor for German industry. Companies can gain cost advantages, and so being efficient means having a competitive advantage. In Germany, it's important to distinguish between residential and industrial electricity prices, these grid prices. I'll talk about the difference between the two in a moment, but for now you can see that the development of the price of electricity for German households here in green. We're currently at around 29 euro cents per kilowatt hour. Industrial electricity is shown here in pink, and you can also see the clear increase in price. The graph shows a single line, but there's actually a bit of a spectrum now between somewhere around 11 and 15 cents, depending on a number of factors, such as consumption levels. Residential oil, shown in blue, and industrial gas in light grey have remained more steady, but they still show relatively high percentage increases, as you can see here on the right-hand side. Here is residential electricity in international comparison. As you can see, German households have the second most expensive electricity prices in the EU, and the EU average is shown here in blue. It's a similar picture for industrial electricity. For the vast majority of companies, electricity is comparatively expensive, normally, as I said, between 11 and 15 cents, which makes investments in energy efficiency measures very much worthwhile. However, there are a few industrial companies that pay much lower rates, as you can see here. So technically there are some companies in Germany that pay around 4.5 cents per kilowatt hour, which is extremely competitive internationally. But they must demonstrate that they require a huge amount of electricity, and they face high levels of international competition, and they fulfill a whole range of requirements such as having energy management systems in place. And this enables them to be freed from the EEG surcharge and various other taxes. However, the vast majority of industrial companies are paying the higher rates that I mentioned, and this is definitely a complex topic, and if you'd like to know more, then we'd be more than happy to send you more detailed information. Just let us know. For German industry, gas prices are also in the upper range compared to the EU average. So that was a quick look at the price for energy for businesses in Germany. What is the major driver of energy efficiency measures? To a large extent, it's just simple economics. Excuse me. So the second major force driving the market is government policy and regulations. Germany was praised this summer in the 2016 ACEEE International Scorecard when it took top place. The report ranks states according to 35 policy and performance metrics spread over 4 categories, namely buildings, industry, transportation, and overall national energy efficiency efforts. Germany scored the most points in the national efforts, buildings, and industry categories. And coming first in this annual ranking highlights the fact that Germany has highly progressive policy in terms of energy efficiency, and this is a major factor that's really pushing the market here. So let's look at one small area of policy. Energy management systems are particularly relevant for large enterprises. On the one hand, there's a greater potential for cost savings, and on the other hand, these are the companies that stand to benefit the most from discounts. Energy-intensive manufacturing companies that are EMAS or ISO 50001 certified only pay a reduced EEG or Renewable Energies Act levy. And in order to take advantage of this, company needs to make an application. The graph on the left shows the share of 50001 certificates by country. You can see the clear lead held here by Germany. By comparison, the UK was in second place, and these figures are from 2014, but it actually had 10 times fewer certificates. And due to new regulations from 2015, this 47% share is now much, much higher. You can see the rapid growth in numbers in the graph on the right-hand side, from just 42 certificates in Germany in 2011 to 3,402 in 2014. Again, this number is now much higher, as the revised Energy Services Act requires all companies that aren't SMEs to carry out regular energy audits by a qualified expert. And random checks are carried out to ensure compliance, and as we will see, funding is available to assist businesses. Now, let's take a step back and zoom out a little, metaphorically speaking, and look at the overall direction of policy in this area. You're probably familiar with Germany's Energiewende or energy transition policy, but maybe not with what it actually involves. There are a lot of numbers on this slide, but let's just focus for now on the numbers outlined in pink. The main target is to reduce CO2 emissions by 40% by 2020 and by 80% by 2050 compared to 1990 levels, which I'm sure you'll agree is a very ambitious goal for a highly industrialized economy. So let's look at the progress so far. Here you can see the greenhouse gas emissions in Germany according to source since 1990. Today in this webinar we're talking about industry, and those emissions are shown here in green. There have been significant reductions since 1990, down from 96 down to around 62 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent, despite the massive growth in GDP at the same time. However, if we only look at the figures for industry over the last 5 years or so, again, they're shown here in green, we can see that progress has somewhat stalled, at least in terms of emissions. Meeting the 2020 target shown here on the right is going to be a big challenge. The 2050 target is also shown here, and to spur new efforts, the government released a climate action plan with a range of new measures. So let's come back to the Energiewende targets. These are the 2 ways in which the government aims to meet the emissions targets shown at the top. The first, and the one we hear most about in the press, are the efforts to increase the amount of renewables in the overall energy mix. For example, we can see here that the aim is to have 35% of electricity come from renewables by 2020, and that target is likely to be met. However, this webinar is looking at the second area, shown here in pink, namely the energy efficiency measures, which are made up of both an increase in efficiency of 2.1% per annum, as well as reduction targets, the major one here being to reduce primary energy consumption by 50% by 2050 compared to 2008. So let's take a look at the progress so far in this respect. As you can see, there has indeed been progress in reducing PEC, and there's a clear downward trend. And as I mentioned before, 2014 saw particularly good progress. Nevertheless, hitting that 2020 reduction target is going to be more difficult. The National Action Plan on Energy Efficiency, or NAPE, or sometimes the NAPE, was announced back in December 2014, and it's the key framework policy to achieve improved energy efficiency in Germany, along with the Energy Efficiency Directive and other EU legislation. The plan declared energy saving to be the twin pillar of the energy transition, on a par with the rollout of renewable energies, which has been basking in the limelight by comparison. Most experts from both the business community and environmental NGOs applauded the publication of the policy document, as it puts a lot of emphasis on creating the right conditions so that efficiency can become a business opportunity in and of itself and thrive without the need for financial support. Nevertheless, the action plan includes a wide range of funding and incentive programs, so let's take a quick look at just some of those programs now. As you can see here, the amount of federal funding for energy efficiency measures has increased dramatically in recent years, from 100 million euros in 2006 to 317 million euros last year. This is a trend that we can certainly expect to continue as those efficiency targets loom closer. So the first of the many programs that there are that I'd like to highlight is the SME Energy Consulting Program, which is operated by BAFA. It provides grants for energy consulting and the accompanying implementation of energy efficiency measures for SMEs in manufacturing, commerce, and services. The grants cover 80% of consulting costs up to 8,000 euros. And the program is guaranteed up to the end of 2019, but this could well be renewed. The second program I'd like to highlight is also from BAFA, and it provides support for highly efficient cross-cutting technologies in SMEs. It provides funding for investments such as replacements or new purchases for system optimization, as well as for individual measures such as electric motors and drives, pumps, ventilators, high-pressure air systems, heat recovery and waste process heat utilization, or even the installation of plant equipment. Grants can be for up to 150,000 euros per site for technical systems under certain circumstances, or up to 30,000 euros for individual measures. It's interesting to note that this program is aimed not only at companies, but also at contractors. A program that's causing really quite a fuss at GTAI at the moment is the KfW Development Bank's New Waste Heat program. It was relaunched this year. It finances measures to avoid or utilize waste heat through, for example, process optimization or equipment insulation, preheating of other media, recirculation, transmission to third parties, or electricity generation, for example, through ORC processes. Financing is provided as a low-interest loan for up to 100% of the eligible costs, as a rule, for up to 25 million euros. However, and here's the interesting bit, companies generally receive repayment grants for 30% of the additional investment costs. And if the waste heat is used externally to the company, then this repayment grant rises to 40% of the eligible investment cost. Now, if the company is an SME as well, then there's a further bonus of 10%, which means that an SME feeding recovered heat into an external heat network could receive a repayment grant for 50% of the additional investment costs. Unfortunately, we're quite limited for time, so I'll just highlight one other program, and that's the Step Up Competitive Tender for companies that are looking to save as much electricity as possible. The ideas submitted by the company or contractor are then put into competition with each other, and the ideas with the best cost to benefit ratio are awarded the funding. The first round of just ended on the 1st of October, so it's going to be really interesting to see what the winning ideas have been. There are going to be 2 rounds held every year, and there's a total of 300 million euros in the pot. So let's look briefly at where the opportunities are in the German market for companies providing energy efficiency solutions. So firstly, why Germany? Well, huge investments are being made in energy efficient solutions here. 73% of suppliers expect their customers to increase investment in the near future. And for more than a third of companies, energy efficiency is in itself a reason for investment and not just something that they think about when they're purchasing new equipment. Secondly, Germany is by far the largest manufacturer in Europe. It's the largest in terms of GDP, and 30% of the gross value added through manufacturing in Europe is added in Germany. Companies looking to gain a foothold in the German market would do well to focus on SMEs, which dominate the German business landscape. You can see in the graph here that 98% of manufacturing companies in Germany are actually SMEs, and this means that there's a huge and very diverse array of potential clients. Indeed, focusing on industry makes sense, as industry in Germany uses more energy than all other sectors, more than households, more than transport, more than commerce, trade and services. So let's now look closely at the energy used by industry. And as you can see, perhaps unsurprisingly, mechanical energy uses nearly 40% of the energy, while heating and process heat make up the majority of the remainder. Cooling, as you can see, isn't such a major consumer here in Germany. Nevertheless, the graph shows where the lowest hanging fruit is to be found, namely in the area of lighting. There are also large potential savings in compressed air, pumping, cooling, heating and ventilation systems. Indeed, this potential matches where the companies plan to or already have invested in energy efficiency, and here you can see that the vast majority of actions have been in the areas of lighting, compressed air, process heating and cooling. So which branches then are actually investing the most? Well, you can see here that the food and fodder industry invested the most in 2013, namely 82 million euros, followed closely by paper and card at 72 million, and the automotive industry at 69 million. Metal, mechanical engineering, chemicals, and electricals were also among the top investors. If you're producing energy efficient products in Germany, then you're in very good company and stand to benefit from the benefits of the positive ecosystem that exists here. And as you can see in this graph, Germany is the world-leading supplier of products for rational energy usage, ahead of both China and the USA. Now, that positive ecosystem includes support from the German government, which flanks efforts by companies based in Germany to access foreign markets through programs such as the Energy Efficiency Export Initiative that aims to support SMEs in particular. There's also a dense network of energy agencies, advisory services, information campaigns, and self-organized industry networks. So that's it from me. I hope I've been able to give you a broad understanding of where Germany is in terms of energy efficiency and where it wants to go. There's a huge momentum in this area at the moment and a lot of political energy, and the outlook is really very bright for the sector. And now is a great time to be getting a foot in the door. Anyway, we're very lucky to be joined today from Brussels by Jürgen Ritzek, who is the co-founder and business director of EEIP, the biggest and fastest growing global industry network for energy efficiency and industrial processes. He's going to be introducing the organization and letting us know how EEIP can help and support your market entry into Germany. So, Jürgen, the floor is yours.
Well, thanks, Rob, and a warm welcome from Brussels. My name is Jürgen Ritzek. I'm from the EEIP Industry Network, which stands, as Rob said already, for Energy Efficiency in Industrial Processes. And following the information about the German market, I would like to show you now how we can support your potential entry into the market. And as this support is based on the EEIP network itself, let me briefly introduce EEIP to you. EEIP is a global industry network around the topic of energy efficiency, and the main goal of EEIP is to contribute to a better functioning of the energy efficiency market. And we do so by exchanging information and networking. And why we do this? It's because a lack of information has been identified as a key barrier to market growth. Or, in other words, many companies are just not aware of the many solutions already existing in the market. So what you can see here is a snapshot of the global reach of the network. It's an analysis we did for monthly news data from February 2016. And what you can see here, all of this has just started around 5 years ago. So we launched EEIP during the European Union Sustainable Energy Week back in 2011, and since then the network grew rapidly around the globe. One reason for this is the setup of EEIP as a neutral and not-for-profit platform. But another reason is the convenience factor. So based on the Coca-Cola approach in arm's length, what basically means that you should get a Coke everywhere, we developed the EEIP approach. EEIP is a multi-channel network, and it works like a mosaic. Every channel of EEIP represents one piece, and all together then forms a network. And that delivers a convenience factor, because it means that everyone can connect the way they like. Connect on social media, via website, newsletters, mailing services, or even via print magazines or events. And that has today led to a platform which is currently passing 125,000 globally and is strongly growing. And with that growth, obviously the impact grew. As an example, you can see here we were constantly rated as one of the top 3 influencers globally on Twitter for energy efficiency. But let's look at Germany. We are already a long-term partner at Hannover Messe, which is the biggest industrial fair globally, or we are a partner of DENEF, which is a German policy energy efficiency network, or we also collaborate with the University of Stuttgart for the German and the European Industrial Energy Efficiency Index. Well, objective, reach and approach, that's one thing. But who is interested to connect to EEIP? Who is interested to receive information about energy efficiency market and solutions? So here's a list. Well, not so easy to read, but it shows that EEIP covers the entire value chain, from small companies to global majors and across all sectors. And effectively, this is just a reflection of what energy efficiency is today. It's a business topic which is relevant basically for any company in the market. And this now brings me to the second part. How can we as EEIP support you to enter the German market? Well, we do see 3 typical market entry phases: a planning phase, a test phase, and the enter phase. And Rob has already shown you many significant reasons why the German market is attractive. Just think of the high energy prices or the various incentive programs, which all leads to high demand in the market and obviously requires supply. And EEIP can support you here, especially in the phases 2 and 3, the test and the enter phase. Building on the reach and the multi-channel approach, we have developed a tool for multiple purposes. So this tool can be used, for example, for testing, to market products and services, to identify potential customers, but it can also be used to identify potential partners. And what do I mean when I say it's a tool built on the network? Well, the logic follows the way how EEIP works. There is a reach. The network covers around 20,000 in Germany, and there's an interest. These people are interested in industrial energy efficiency solutions. This is the core of EEIP. And you have the solutions, so that's a perfect fit. We just need to talk about. And that's how it works. The only thing we would need from you is your solutions in the form of a case study or a reference project. Or in other words, the business case behind your products and services. That's all from your side. And we then reach the right people for you, we present your cases, and we analyze the interest. So a look in a little bit more in detail. One thing we do is we create a so-called landing page just for you. This is a place where your cases are stored and interested parties can read about your solutions. And to let people know about this, we constantly communicate about these solutions using all the different EEIP channels, which leads to the result of a double benefit. It means that we can deliver relevant information to the EEIP network, and it means access to German target group for you. And at the beginning I also said that this tool can be used for different purposes for the test and enter phase. So here are the options. You want to see which of your solutions seems to be most interesting? Well, test it. You're considering to partner in areas such as engineering or sales? Well, ask for it. Or you want to support your market entry via marketing and gather sales relevant information? Just use it. Two things which I need to mention. The first one is we need case studies from you, or reference projects, and they need to be in German language as we would target the German market. And secondly, and although the service is around 10 times below what a marketing agency would charge, it is not entirely free as a service of German Trade and Invest. We use it to finance our organization as an independent and neutral not-for-profit organization. So this is a way how we could support your market entry into the German energy efficiency market. We know that every company is different, so please feel free to contact me and we can discuss your individual case. Well, thanks. And now back to Rob.
Okay, thank you very much, Jürgen, for your presentation. I think we've all gained a clear understanding of what EEIP is and how it can be of huge assistance to companies that want to gain a foothold in the German market. It's great to see that we've had a lot of questions sent in throughout the webinar so far, and we've got a few minutes, so I'd like to spend those answering those together with Jürgen. I think the first question here would be for Jürgen. It says, if I'm using EEIP for testing purposes and then I want to test another project, can I add this?
Thanks, Rob. Yes, that's possible. It's a very flexible tool. So in this case, we would just add a new case study for the new product and would just adopt the communication accordingly, and you would get the same information also for the new one. Okay,
that's good to hear. I've got a second question here. It's from me. It says the ISO 50001 chart is very interesting. Well, thank you very much. It says, but you said there were changes in the law. What does it look like now? Yeah, I should stress that those figures in that chart, they're from 2014, and actually last year in 2015, there were around 50,000 audits were carried out in Germany. So that chart will look quite different now. Germany is quite likely to be a world leader, and as soon as the figures are out, then I'll be updating that chart for you. I've got a third question, perhaps a final question for today. It says, you said it's for Jürgen. It says here, you said that you work with, you said that with your tool I can identify interested companies and generate leads. How does this work?
Well, yeah, that's basically referring to when you say you get sales relevant information. For the details, I'm not sure who asked the question. I would just say we can do that in a phone call later on. But let's say in short, one thing what we do is we can identify companies on your so-called landing page. And we would also know what kind of other cases they have seen. So that would allow us to create a list of potentially interested companies. On the lead side, there are a number of so-called lead generation functionalities built in the tool. So that means people who are arriving there, reading about your cases, they can contact you directly from the landing page, let's say via contact forms or email or telephone, for example. I hope that's in short okay.
Okay, that sounds like a great tool. So anyway, I'm afraid we're out of time. And I'm very sorry if we didn't get around to answering your questions. Our email addresses are on the screen at the moment, so please do get in touch with us, and we'll be more than happy to talk with you personally outside the webinar. Of course, if you'd like to meet me in person, I'll be at these events in the coming weeks. I'll be at Chillventa in Nuremberg tomorrow. You can also find out where my colleagues from GTAI will be by looking at the events section of the GTAI homepage at www.gtai.com. Don't worry if you missed something during the webinar today. We'll be sending you a link to a recording in the near future, as well as to the presentations. And as I said, feel free to contact me or Jürgen directly. I do have one last request, and that's that after the webinar, you'll receive a survey with 3 very short questions, and it would be a great help to us if you could take the time to answer them. Your feedback is highly valued, and it helps us to improve our webinars. So my sincere thanks to Jürgen for his participation today, and to all of the technical team here at GTAI that have helped us to organize the event. And my final thanks go to all of you for participating. Have a wonderful day or a wonderful evening wherever you are, and until next time, goodbye.
Well, thanks. Goodbye.